introduce myself. I am Mike Maurer. I'm with the Julia Morgan Ballroom, Merchants Exchange Club. Thank you. Thank you. The Banking Hall, the Gallery, and Credo Events just across town here at 465 California. So on your table here is a book for the San Francisco Unique Venue Alliance website, SFUVA.com. But first, come to the Julia Morgan Ballroom and then go to the website to look for your venue availability. But so who has never been to one of these mixers, either the SFUVA or a Bay Area Hospitality Group? Wow, not many. Okay, awesome. Well, welcome. So I am not going to bore you with how we all got here, but we are all here, and what a beautiful venue. I'm going to turn it over to Matthew, and he is going to tell you about the historic Klamath. We have a great panel for us talking about trends for 24 and 25 with Heather Chan with Streamline Events, Gene Cosi with Snap Fiesta, and Mark Sackett with the Box San Francisco. So that will be coming up, and then there will be more jokes by me. So a lot of fun things to wait for, but here is Matthew.
Thank you, Mike, and thank you to everybody who turned up today. What an amazing turnout we've had. It's been really lovely. Thank you. And I know for a lot of you, it's your first time here at the historic Klamath, so I'm going to not waste too much of your time. I'm going to give you a very, very brief little history of how this boat got here, because it's kind of interesting. You know, this is 100 years old this year. It was built in 1924. And believe it or not, in the 20s and 30s, there were over 100 of these boats. This is before the bridges, before the freeways. So the only way, if you're in San Francisco or anywhere on the Bay Area, you could get from point A to point B was on one of these boats. And this boat took 100 cars and 500 people, and there were over 120 of them. And they went backwards and forwards 24 hours a day, taking people around. I know we have people from the ferry building. The ferry building at that time also picked up trains from the East Coast. So people would come from the East Coast here. It was the biggest transport hub in the world in the 30s. And then they built the bridges and they built the freeways, and everybody decided that they'd rather sit in their cars and not talk to each other. So that was the end of all the boats. But it wasn't the end of the Klamath. The Klamath had some other lives. In the 60s and 70s, it was the home of Landor, the advertising agency. And it was literally like the kind of Mad Men boat. Right, so it was like cocktail parties on the boat. It wasn't more like this. It sailed around, and they had their offices on it, and they built all this branding for Levi's and Wells Fargo and all this kind of stuff. And the Stones were on the boat, and Andy Warhol was on the boat, and it was, you know, quite the place to be for a while. And then its fortunes changed, and it became the headquarters of Duraflame. Yeah, not quite as exciting, although we do have the original working fireplace in the lounge on the second floor that Duraflame had to use when they had their parties and things. So it's been a few things. About 4 years ago, the Bay Area Council, which owns the boats, a large public policy nonprofit here, decided that buying a building in San Francisco pre-COVID would be too expensive. Timing's everything. And they instead thought it would be a good idea to buy this boat. And they raised capital contributions, $20 million, and completely refurbished it to what it is today. And so very quickly, what we have on this boat, we had our roof deck, which you've already been on. So we have about 3,000 square feet of space up there where you can have cocktail parties and receptions. And we're getting into the fall period now. So it's going to really shine over the next few months. So September, October, November, it's the nicest place to be in the city, really. Not quite so nice in January, but, you know, what are you going to do? We also have our roof deck boardroom, which is up there, which is a little 600 square foot space. I don't know if you saw it when you were up there, but it's fully equipped. All our conference rooms in here, including this one, are fully like Zoom equipped with cameras, built-in audio, these screens and so on. That's the same upstairs. And we have a lot of corporate offsites. I think in fact we won Peerspace offsite venue of 2024. So people like being there, even though the boat moves a little bit, but that's fine. People get used to it, and we give them the wristbands. Maybe you've had them as well. We have this conference center that you're in right now. This can hold up to 225 for a standing reception, but we do lots of conferences and corporate events and so on, and we also have receptions and holiday parties. So anybody thinking of a holiday party, let me know. And anybody who is in a hotel and who has people who don't have 2,500 square feet of fully equipped conference space and have guests who would like conferences, also do let me know, because we can service them completely. And we have 2 other areas through here, which you'll see when you leave tonight. We have another 5,000 square feet of space just back here, which is very flexible. We use for registration and off breakout rooms and all that kind of thing. We have other conference centers as well, conference rooms on the 2nd floor. So we have lots of space for breakouts. If you have a big conference going on, we have everything in here. That's the historic Klamath. We're available. Michelle over there, raise your hand. And I are the venue managers here. So take any postcard that's on the table, and you can get to our website and contact us with any questions. And we'd love to work with all of you whenever we can. Today's event would not have been possible without these amazing sponsors. All of these are from our preferred vendors list, and they're all fantastic. I'm sure you know most of them. I just want to give each one of them a shout out. AM Party Rentals provided all the furniture in here today. They're great. I can tell you 2 things about them. They're very well priced, and they're very flexible with their pickup and drop off times. Very important. Love it. Betty Slatchin are doing the food. You haven't had the food yet, but you will, and it's going to be amazing, because whenever they do the food, it always is. And the great thing about Narema and her team here is that I don't have to do anything. Once they're running an event, I can go home, put my feet up. I know everything's going to be fine, and the food's going to be beautiful. So that's great. ESP did the sound on the roof deck. They're very pro. If you need any AV work, they're absolutely fantastic. Gatsby, wonderful for any kind of entertainment. From jazz band. And very good. My mother-in-law, no. So they can provide all sorts of stuff, bands, 3 pieces, DJs, everything you like, and they come and they consult with you, and they have lots of ideas, which is good too. So if you're in an event, you're like, need some entertainment, can't think of anything. James over there is absolutely fantastic. Ravel Florist, look at the beautiful florals. Check out the ones on the bar. If you're involved in weddings, anything like that need corporate events that need florals, Marissa is just a superstar. She'll come and do everything for you, and very, very tastefully. Rye on the Road, I want to give a quick special mention to. They're our new bar supplier. We've only had them for 2 months, and they have been spectacular, and they helped us out of a massive jam when BBC imploded recently, and they have taken over clients for us, and they provide a wonderful service, you'll see, and they look so smart all the time, and the cocktails are beautiful, and they built that bar on the roof, in a matter of moments. They're really, really great. Seat Robot, you all got invited here today by this company, Seat Robot. There's a card on the table, wonderful for corporate events, particularly in large events. If you have sponsored events, it's the only platform that allows the sponsors to build their own guest lists, so you don't have to. Very useful. Very useful. And Strategic Development Technologies are sending us out live right now. There's Al. He's waving. He was the guy telling you to shut up at the beginning, and I'm sure he'll be doing that later as well. Okay, that's it from me. Thank you again, everybody, for coming. I guess now we have our panel. Mike, do I hand over to you? Is that what I do?
And now, we are going to the panel, thankfully. I'm going to introduce Heather Chan with Streamline Events, Gene with Snap Fiesta, and Mark Sackett. All righty, and I brought them together to talk about trends in 24 and 25 and what we see coming down through our industry. And I brought a few from a couple of different segments here. Gene's going to lead us off. We also have right over here, he's going to talk about things we can do after this other than drink and eat. An activation right over here. And without further ado, Gene.
Is it on? All right, perfect. So I'm Gene Kasoy. I'm the owner and founder of Snap Fiesta Photo Entertainment. Been around for 13 years. All kinds of photo and video experiences. I'm going to talk a little bit about kind of like how we're utilizing AI and best practices, and also talk about the industry trends that we see in the photo and video entertainment sphere. At Snap Fiesta, we've been kind of doing a hybrid between plug-and-play solutions and also creating our own AI experiences using some in-house developed tech. So, sorry. As far as like using AI in our business, we do a lot of AI image gen for different like background removal options and creating content for different photo activations where we can replace the background or use the assets in different aspects of our business. We also have been having a lot of fun with AI music generation, kind of creating music for different video products as well, like our Spinning 360. So if you have Robbie's bar mitzvah who likes basketball and cats, you can make a song about that in a couple of minutes and use it for their events. So during the pandemic, I actually went back to coding and started creating interactive experience art for Snap Fiesta, and kind of ties back to my experience, my undergrad at GC Berkeley in artificial intelligence, and kind of coming back full circle using AI in our business. Sorry, So besides the photo booths, we've been also experimenting with AI video in different aspects, creating custom experiences. One of our flagship products is our AI portrait studio, which combines professional headshots with AI-enhanced photos, as well as AI-generated prompted images that get sent to the guests using facial recognition for custom their own galleries. And another experience that we've created is our AI interactive experience, which is in the back of the room. It combines real-time AI generation with custom prompts and AI models where you can actually play around with those aspects in real time at events. It kind of opens up the conversation about AI in events, and you can actually experience it in real time and see how images can come to life, actually video feeds in real time. We just did this activation for Augmented World Expo in Los Angeles last month, and actually started out as a art project for the Exploratorium showcase that we did in February. Have kind of built upon those features, creating more interactive aspects to it. So the forecast for the photo industry I see with the AI is kind of like bigger, better models for photos and have better quality images, multi-person AI generation that's like flawless, and also AI video adoption as well. So we've gotten some pretty amazing feedback from all the different AI services we've had, but our core products, like the more traditional photo and video products with regular backdrops, physical backdrops, prints on site, that's still going to be valuable in the events industry as people want to be connected and in a more organic, non-digital way. So yeah, that's pretty much all I got. Thank you, Mike, for this panel, and thank you, Klamath, and all the sponsors.
All righty. We thank you, Gene. And then we have Karen out here with a microphone. If anyone has any questions for Gene, shoot. There we go.
There's different ways of doing that. If you want a more photorealistic photograph that you can use for LinkedIn, there's definitely, AI enhanced, which will fix your blemishes and fix the hair. Do pretty much like Photoshop, but with a couple of clicks. And you can also do avatars, and you can create like little pixel art. You can make yourself like 8-bit video game player character from like the 80s. So there's a lot of different aspects you can go with. Plug and play like AI photo booths are very easy for just like one person AI photos that look like you, and they're stylized and kind of look like a different anime or stylized images.
All righty. Any other questions out there? Gene, you mentioned that the older photo booths, the standard type photo booths, will still have a use. Do you see that more people, very few people are utilizing those, or is it still 50-50?
No, it's still going pretty strong. When somebody's having a wedding, we don't push like an AI photo booth for their wedding. You want to have something that's kind of a classic. You will take a look at it, and it's not going to be dated AI photos circa 2024, where you're looking at it in like 2050. So the classic photos are still going to be like something that people want.
Pricing standpoint, is a standard photo booth a lot less, or is the AI extremely more?
The way we've priced it, AI is more of an add-on to the standard photo booth, so it's a little bit more expensive.
All right. And then for the AI photo booth, will we be able to take a strip of photos today with us?
So not from this experience, it's more like an art piece. So it doesn't give you anything. We can do video where you can download it and send it off. We're just not today.
However, if we want our pictures, we can contact you.
Definitely.
All right.
Thank you, Mike.
No questions out there? Karen, you can't use your microphone on anyone? All right. We're going to move on. We'll come back. If anybody has any ideas or questions after we are done, we'll come back. And I am going to introduce Heather Chan with Streamline Events.
But essentially, looking at AI and how it can potentially help us collectively, so whether that's food and beverage with our hotel partners, or if it's, sorry, in my notes here, food and beverage, or if it is essentially looking at experiences for different locations around the world, how we can potentially help out our clients for locations that we haven't been to, or just sort of building something out of nothing, the most random prompts, things like that. I'm sure you all have used ChatGPT, Gemini, things of that nature. Played around with it, used it for personal use, how to write nicer email, things of that nature. I'm sure I have definitely done that. But I think all in all for AI, it's been great so far what it has learned from us. If you have the cheap trial and error version of ChatGPT, it stopped uploading information from 2021 to 2022. I can't remember what it is. But of course, as we go along with it, we're going to get a little bit more information. So it's going to learn about you, your individual wants, needs, what you're looking for your audience, your clients, and what that experience really should look like. And so for us, again, during our research phase, it's actually been really great to try and see, okay, if I have an incentive coming up, what could this look like for me? Is it going to help me as an event planner, help with my clients if they have some crazy asks? How can we get it there? What's the cost efficiency, things of that nature? So it's been really great for our team to just sort of play around with. Any other agencies or DMCs, if you guys have folks that are doing registration or housing, it's also a great tool as well. Certainly, as I mentioned before, not only does it help you write potentially nicer emails or messages to loved ones or colleagues, but also to help you write things in general. So if you are in charge of doing any copy, this is a really, really great tool. So I don't know how many of you all have tried it before, hate it, love it. I mean, essentially at the end of the day, it's going to help us in the long run. So if you haven't tried any sort of those AI tools out there yet, I do urge you just to sort of play around with it. But I will say for the event side, for us at least, it's not perfect, as you all know. You have to program it to some extent, like if you were to be coding it. But at the end of the day, no one has it figured out just yet. And so we're still working towards getting to what that end goal that will look like. Another thing that we were looking at from an agency side is more so of events that where you really build in wellness. And you all have seen, especially in the Bay Area, plant-based meals. You can't quite push plant-based meals on everybody, but it does really go with sustainability. It is a little bit more mindful of where your food is coming from. In the Bay Area, we're so lucky to have these farms around us that it really truly is that farm to table experience. And in our urban farms, probably somewhere in the city, rooftops, things of that nature that you can really hone in on is fantastic. So I'm sure some of the venues or restaurants that you have partnered with really do have those connections around the Bay Area and past, which I think is fantastic. And then I think the biggest thing, probably not a good example here today with all those folks crowded around that beautiful bar right there, but it is the zero proof bars. A lot of people have really been looking at mocktails and still getting creative. So you don't have to have the bourbon, the tequila thing. So, get wild and let that liquid courage kick in. You can still sort of have that taste taste and taste. That's what it is. When you get mixologists that are really, really excited about, using different flavors or techniques, it really makes that experience that much better. So instead of just having, the typical martinis or your Manhattans, although I do love a good Manhattan, it is kind of nice to not have that kind of shitty hangover at the end of the day, because I know a lot of times when I do these events, sometimes they overindulge because I haven't eaten yet. So having that mocktail and just having that sort of that opportunity to still be social is really nice. And I know that for conferences, whether it's local or anywhere else, that folks are really looking more towards that wellness aspect of, building in that gym, that social time without sort of that nasty feeling afterwards. So hopefully if your clients, attendees are asking for it, really look into it. And if y'all haven't heard before already, there is a local company, Free Spirits. And right now they do have fantastic bourbon, tequila, and gin. So if you haven't heard of them, I would highly recommend you check them out. Their website has a bunch of great recipes, probably things that you've already heard of before, but it's kind of nice to just sort of play around it on your own. Has anyone tried Free Spirits? Love that. Great. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. We won't pick on you because you've already raised your hand. And then sort of the last thing that I want to touch on for our agency specifically is what we sort of just have coined as quiet branding. So in many, many years past, we've all had the t-shirts, the mugs, the things like all these swag items that people love tchotchkes. They want to grab them. They want all the free stuff. You take them home. You're like, okay, now what? I have a ton of stuff. My family's probably sick and tired of getting hand sanitizers, erasers, whatever it is from all the years. And so how can we go about more and really think of our clients, pending budget, of course, but things that are much more meaningful? So if we're talking about beyond wellness, what about having a nice alarm clock where it actually has a guided meditation app in there for you? So if you're trying to work on, I'd like to get up at 5 a.m., but I don't know how to really start it. So if the sun sort of rises on this clock for you and has a guided meditation, well, now you've just knocked two things out. You got up early and you've also just meditated for 5-10 minutes. I mean, that's pretty great. You feel great for the day. Hopefully you shower, get your day started, and that's pretty amazing. Fingers crossed. Not everyone has to do the same thing. But also, we were all probably road warriors at once in our lifetime or in our past lives. You're living out of a suitcase. And so how nice is it for our clients to have, whether it's bays, away, to me, something of that nature that, you can gift them, but without branding Salesforce or whatever company it is on top of there. It's kind of nice to have, because at some point, if you do leave that company, now you have your backpack, your luggage tags, all these things with that company logo on there. So it's kind of nice. And you all have heard about, I think it's Patagonia that no longer does any of their embroidery specifically, because unfortunately it all does end up in landfill, which is terrible. As Bay Area people, we love sustainability. We like to go green as much as possible. So I think it's really important for us to be advocates for beyond wellness, sustainability, and then quiet branding too, because I think it truly does make that extra impact for folks to have these things to remember, like, hey, that was such a rad to-me suitcase I got. And whenever I travel, I'm going to think back to me winning it for President's Club or what have you. So that's just a couple examples that we have for you.
Cocktail that is mock. I will try them, but my Manhattan was awesome. Ryan Road does a great job. It was the first trip I've had in 4 weeks since the surgery, so it's hitting me now, and it's permanent. I also don't want to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning unless my building is on fire or unless I'm on a film set. So I'm not a morning person. So, I know that in this business, a lot of us have to be up at ridiculous hours for load in and setup and all that kind of stuff. But, if I don't have to, I try to avoid it. I own a number of these. I own a film studio and a record label and a production company and a graphic design marketing agency, and I've done many things for many years. And, so because I'm really blessed to get to do those things, I get to see a lot of trends and early developing trends. Obviously, On the AI topic, we're seeing a lot of AI, the increase in AI events. Obviously, there's a massive interest on almost every front of AI, how AI is going to impact our businesses, how AI is already impacting our businesses. We just had it was all the leaders of the Silicon Valley at our space, 2 weeks ago, I believe it was. And there were authors there that had written books on AI, and it was like a leadership conference for Facebook and Intel and all these companies on what is happening in AI, because like all of you in this room, or many of you in this room, everybody's trying to figure it out at exactly the same time. It's a new frontier for everyone. And it was really fascinating to hear a little bit of that and see the kinds of things that they were talking about. 3 or 4 months ago, we did a 3-day launch event for Adobe for their new AI product. They flew in 35 designers from around the world, and they all worked together to create a zine over the 3 days using the new software. So they trained them on the software the first 2 days, and the third day they had to design, in partnership with the designer next to them, a page for the zine. And then that was fascinating to me as a designer, as a graphic designer, and as a marketer, and as a branding person. I think if we look, just keep this in mind. If we look back 5, 6 years from now, at what we're talking about today, we're going to be like, it was kind of the way we were at the beginning of the internet. Just like, what's it used for? Is it going to be around? And AI is going to take over in ways, that we aren't even considering yet. We've been talking about sustainability for a long time. I know from my friends that own venues and my friends that I talk to a lot that sustainability is often a buzzword that we use, but it's not really implemented. We don't allow, we do dumb little things. Like we don't allow bottled water in our venue of any type, even branded bottled water. It's just like, no, you can't do that. And, at some times, we all want all the business we can get, but at some points, we're willing to sort of compromise ourselves and say no, and there's certain things we just won't compromise on. And I think that we all would do well to think a lot more and have a pretty strategic conversation around sustainability, because if you think about just a dumb little venue like mine that holds between 50 and 150 people, and maybe we do, 100 and some events, 200 events a year, and you think about, like, how many water bottles would that be going into the dump? Or how many of this? And the things like, obviously, I think a lot of us use places like food runners and, to pick up all the leftover food so that we can donate it to appropriate organizations, homeless organizations and whatnot. But I think that there are so many things that we can do. We hosted an event, it was a number of years ago now, maybe 2016, 2015, where it was for an environmental events organization. And every one of them was honest. They're like, you need to change these light bulbs and you need to do this. And this is a horribly environmental venue. And I'm like, it's a 1926 historic building. They wanted me to yank out the windows. They wanted conditioning in. And I'm like, why would I spend $300,000-$400,000 on that kind of sustainability when what I'd rather do is to worry about what my own carbon footprint is? And I think that we all have to think about that. What is our carbon footprint in an event of 100 people, 200 people, 1,000 people? And I think if we all work together to come up with that, we could actually lead that conversation. And being in San Francisco, I think we could lead the conversation on a national basis. I can't speak a lot to Gene's business, although if you haven't used Gene, every time he walks into your building, something cool happens. So if you don't know Gene or you haven't used him, talk to him because his work is amazing. I haven't worked with Streamline, but she seems pretty awesome. But what I will say is, on a bigger scale for me, I tend to look, and I'm forced to look in my other businesses at trends, what's happening. And what I have found with our clients, and I don't know, I'm probably interested in see a show of hands, but we're seeing smaller events. We're seeing smaller budgets. We're seeing more focused, personalized events. We are also seeing fewer events. During the pandemic, companies became very used to the remote workforces. And so they got really used to working from their underwear and only dressing from the waist up for a Zoom meeting. And we've all experienced that as well. In fact, I believe I remember some of you like that in our UVA meetings. I wasn't one of them. But I do believe that the trends are towards smaller things. And I think that as a group, we could begin to broker a conversation about why in-person events are important. You know, I do a networking event all over the world, for instance, called the Art of Active Networking. I've done it in 5 countries and 17 cities worldwide for 15 years. And I'm starting my events up in about a week and a half for the first time since the pandemic. And the idea of personal and interpersonal in-person events is really important. And it's critical for the development of organizations. You know, you can't have an effective organization if you really don't know the people that are on your teams. Now, those could be very small meetings, or they could be company-wide meetings. But I was recently at a huge LGBTQ launch event over at Salesforce at the tower. And you walk into that tower now, which, by the way, used to be full, and it's like a ghost town. And so I think it's kind of important for all of us to work together to figure out, like, how do we get these companies to understand that conversation, to bring those kinds of events back, and for us to literally from the ground up rebuild the new events business and what it should look like in San Francisco.
So thank you. The number one thing in the hospitality industry lacks hospitality. Good service is no longer good enough in our increasingly competitive business environment where the bar is low, and I've seen that. Businesses can localize by inspiring affection for its people, living in harmony with sustainability, a buzzword, and inspiring soulfulness through service. How do you think AI will serve San Francisco and its guests proactively while preserving its hidden?
For me, I mean, I believe AI is simply the next tool that we have. And I believe it's the next tool in our toolbox of many. So I don't think, I mean, I think everybody's heads are turned pretty far to the left right now to say AI is going to change our lives. I think AI is going to change a lot of things and impact a lot of things. But I think that the idea of hospitality, the idea of meeting someone in person, the idea of face-to-face and handshake contact, I think is critical. And I think that companies, you know, for a long time, we talked about as soon as the pandemic's over, things are going to get back to normal. And from the beginning of the pandemic, I said, things are never going back to normal. We're going to be in a new normal. We're never going back to where we were. And I believe that with all my fiber of my being. So I think that what we have to do is figure out what is that new normal, how does it look for us, and how does it serve our businesses and our clients in the best way.
But hospitality is more than just serving people. It is truly the underlying love that you put into it, the passion. So AI could never replace that. Never. So I think it's more so of using that tool as a resource, as he said, but also how we can use that tool also. And whether it's, I don't know, in the future, something with robots, whatever hospitality ends up looking like in 15 years from now, and how we can look forward to programming, training it to be what hospitality used to be, but better. Obviously, it looks like most folks may have been in hospitality for quite some time. Not say that you're old, but I mean, we're all nodding our heads like, yes, I remember hospitality used to be so great. And skincare during COVID was a real thing. But I feel this also with every fiber of myself, having been in hospitality for years also, and I do agree with you. And it's very sad to see that hospitality, our bar is so low. And San Francisco is not known for that. We're known to be better. And how can we be better? And so I think it's a matter of just getting the right people, making them feel that hospitality really is where it should be, and that we should be exemplifying that by our daily habits, behavior, things like that. You know, just working within our own cohorts, being in organizations like this. I mean, it's really just leveling it up and being that support system for each other. So unfortunately, long story short, AI is going to continuously be our friend and tool and resource, however you want to make it.
Hi, I'm Curtis. I work with Live Nation, who sells, but I used to be in hospitality. And I think they're more of a collaborative thing. The AI open the door, like in sales, you send the emails and you get like 0 responses because say the right AI can probably have a gap, but eventually you still have to speak and meet with the people in person. So if your hospitality is not there, so I think it's like they're saying, new tool to help open the door and maybe weed out the spammers and like be more of a directed like attempt opposed to, you know,
ChatGPT can write your emails for you. That's how it can help you. And then you have that live connection and you shake hands. Yeah.
Let's thank the panel. And in our last event, we were talking about vacant to vibrant. The folks came in from SF Media, came in to talk to us, and I have a gift here for all the panelists from Devil's Teeth, which is one of the vacant to vibrant stories that they were one of the first 9, and they're 7 of the 9 to sign long-term leases. About a month ago, they announced 15 more vacant buildings, storefronts that became vibrant. So if you see that symbol, please go buy a cup of coffee or a pastry or a sandwich and keep those new businesses in business. One more trend of San Francisco. We have a special guest with us. Alec Bastain from the Hotel Council is going to talk to us for a few minutes about what he sees coming down.
Thank you so much today, Mike. Thank you for the invite. It really is an honor being here with all of you, because at the end of the day, you all are actually on the front lines each and every day, helping the city come back better and stronger than before. You know, Mike asked me to come here to speak to all of you, and he wanted to really have me share what the numbers are for this year. And I don't think it's a secret. I think we all know what the numbers are this year. The numbers are very bad. Q3 and Q4 do not look good. And, you know, the reality is that during tough times, only the strong survive. And when I look out into this audience, I see strong individuals and I see a strong collective. You know, we've been through a lot these last few years, and for the first time in a long time, I feel that I have some optimism to share. Because for the numbers to change, the policies have to change. The situation on the streets have to change. And that's been happening in the last year or so. For the first time in a long time, I can tell you that the narrative doesn't quite fit the mold anymore. It fit the mold 2 years ago. I started exactly 2 years ago to this day. And the narrative definitely fit the mold. In fact, it encouraged me to take on this role because of what I saw. It was heartbreaking. But when it comes to public safety, when it comes to clean streets, a little bit more of a business-friendly climate, the city has taken steps in the right direction. Now, is it enough? Absolutely not. Do we have a long journey still ahead of us? Of course. But the momentum is in our favor. And if you all visit the West Coast cities like I do, you will see for yourself that we're the only city right now heading in the right direction on those 3 issues. Not to compare us to anyone else, because we're San Francisco. We're a piece of gold, right? I don't want to compare us to Portland or LA, but when I do, I see the difference. I see the difference that a year or so has made, especially when it comes to what we're doing collectively as a hospitality community. Now, I know that when it's all said and done, we are going to have to persevere. We're going to have to overcome. But we've done this before as a city, and we've done this before as a hospitality community. They counted us out after the earthquake, and they've counted us out after 2 tech bubbles. And the same narrative was used against our city. And every single time we came back better and stronger than before when we came together, when we engaged in common sense, yes, being true to our principles as San Franciscans, but also being reasonable, right? Knowing that businesses and people pay a premium to be here, but you have to make it worth it. You have to make it reasonable. You can't go beyond the pale with it, right? You have to meet people halfway. That's what you all are doing every day. And I believe in this product in my heart of hearts. I know all of you do too. There are a lot of places we can be. We could be in scorching hot heat in 110-degree weather somewhere else in the country. Personally, I kind of like it, right? Sometimes being in the scorching hot heat. But when we look out of this window and when we take a look at the bridge or the cable car, the Golden Gate, when we eat at some of the best restaurants in the country, when we stay at some of the best hotels in the world, and I really believe that, it makes me fall in love with the city again. So although I was here to tell you about Q3 and Q4, we all know what Q3 and Q4 looks like. I'm here to remind you about the magic of San Francisco. Hang on a little bit longer. We're getting there. And before you know it, we'll be shining bright on the world stage again. If you have any questions, it doesn't matter how tough, I'm here to answer them, because I look at my job as something that's for all San Franciscans and everyone in the hospitality community. So please, if anyone has a question, now's the time. Heidi, thank you so much. First of all, if everyone knows Heidi, they know that Heidi is an advocate through and through, and she advocates not only for the line, but for all of you each and every day. Thank you for that. You know, we do a lot around advocacy, of course. We are at the forefront of this business tax reform measure that's going to give a little bit of a reprieve to small businesses and the hospitality industry, as well as some of the big employers in the city, so that they can be encouraged to stay here. It's not a plan that anyone is going to walk away from saying this is the best, but it is yet another step in the right direction, reducing taxes to some of the hardest hit industries, small business and hospitality, and restaurants, of course. And we're going to be pushing forward on advocacy as well. But to Heidi's point, another thing we're really passionate about is building community and having everyone come together to really kind of get to know everyone and to take pride in ownership in hospitality in San Francisco. And we've scaled up all our events, and we would love to have you all join our events. We have so many of them this year. The next big one that we're going to have is our golf tournament, where it is on Indigenous Peoples Day on October 14th. And it's a great opportunity. I myself am not a golfer. I'll be the first to admit it. I myself am a bit of a drinker when it's appropriate. And so, you know, there's something for everyone. It will be a fun event. And, you know, what's great about it is the proceeds from the auction go to the CHLA Foundation, which gives scholarships to hospitality students at San Francisco State. Let me just give a shout out to Jim Wonderman, who is the CEO of the Bay Area Council. He's a great guy, and he's done so much for this entire region for the last 20 plus years. He actually celebrated, I was in this room, when he celebrated his 20-year anniversary. When you look across the deck over there, and you see the New Bay Bridge, he was actually instrumental in getting that design for the New Bay Bridge. It would have not looked like that if it wasn't for Jim. The BART structure that we have wouldn't be like that without Jim. And when it comes to that particular effort as well, it was the Bay Area Council that did so much to ensure that all of us were mobilized around that effort. We wouldn't have this boat, period, end of story. And again, if you see Jim, please thank him for his service, because not only was he here for the last 20 years, before that he was the chief of staff for Mayor Feinstein and Mayor Jordan. He really is someone that I respect dearly. So if you like what you're hearing as far as what we're doing at the Hotel Council, really the pathfinder is Jim. So please give him a shout out and give him some love as well. Any other questions? No? Amazing.
All righty. Thanks, everybody. Thank you for the panel. Another round of applause to the panel.